Good morning. If I can call the meeting to order, please. Thank you. Do we have public speakers this morning?
Yes, we do, sir. We have two public speakers. The first is Murray Bowden, followed by Matt Shotkin. Mr. Bowden.
Morning. June 11th is my 60th high school reunion. It's going to be a luncheon because some of my classmates can't drive anymore at night. One of the things I hated most in high school was that compare and contrast book things, and today I get to compare and contrast an MTA board meeting and a Port Authority board meeting, because at 1 o'clock I get to speak at the Port Authority. Interesting about the Port Authority, Chairman Sampson said, if you'd like to speak to anybody on a Port Authority about Port Authority business, just ask and we'll arrange it. So I asked, and I had two meetings with Jose Rivera, the chief traffic engineer, and last week I asked to meet with some people to look over a new design for putting truck trailers on rail. And I got an email back on Monday. We'll be glad to arrange it for you. We'd like, because I'm going to speak there today. She said, we can't get it arranged before Wednesday. So here I am at the Port Authority, and Doreen is leaving and being replaced, and looking up about the various things, I find that there are any number of holdover members on the board. Any holdover member is not free to vote because they want to stay here, and so they're. And my suggestion on Monday was, if you're a holdover member, either get yourself reappointed or get off. This is not the kind of political playground it was 5 years ago. This is serious. What's that? Is that supposed to mean something? Is there two sets of rules? One, there is no limit on how long I can speak today, because when I walked in, there was no notification that I was limited to anything. And two, if Vice Chairman Saul can take his car and park in the bus lane for a couple of minutes while he finishes his cell phone, I have as much right to break the rules as you do. And I will. I'm not done. Those of you who have outlived your usefulness to the people of this metropolitan area, either get yourself reappointed or resign. There are good people on this board. There are a lot of people who could replace those who have outlived their usefulness and move this organization forward. There is no place for me to request a meeting with bridges and tunnels over the toll lanes and the lines that are detrimental. They're presenting information that is inaccurate, and I can't get a meeting with them to do it.
Mr. Bowden, your time is up. Thank you. The next speaker will be Matt Shotkin.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Andrew and Mr. Chairman, your ties are very nice. Doreen, your zippered blouse is very nice. And AM New York, all the news that's fit to print. What a crock! They printed yesterday. All trains run late on the subway. Of course, we're no fools, and we all know that trains run late, and even with the stalled and stuck trains that are always in the station, that's not so amazing to me. Thanks for your time today.
Very much, and that includes the public speaking portion.
Thank you, Hillary. Thank you to the public speakers. Can I move to the meeting of the agenda of the meeting? Can I ask for approval of minutes of the April board meeting, please? In favor? Opposed? Thank you. Before we get started to the main agenda today, I wanted to take a few minutes to introduce the latest iteration of our website, which went live yesterday afternoon. Paul Floranges, who's the Senior Director of Corporate and Internal Communications, is going to give us a brief presentation on the changes that have taken place. I hope everybody knows how strongly I feel about the communications that we have with our customers and our ability to be able to provide real-time service status information to customers. Last year, we made a change for the very first time to get this information onto our website. I think it represented a monumental step forward for us. But more important than what I think is actually what's happened, because traffic on our website went up 65% last year, and people are using it. They're finding it to be the place to go when you want to know what's going on with the transit system. I've been happy to see it picked up on our service status box, now picked up on other websites. 311 for the City of New York has picked it up. New York One has picked it up. And I think that's terrific. So I think we've really taken a huge step forward in doing that. But like a lot of other things we do, there's no standing still. So I'd like Paul to show you how we're building on that success and some of the changes that went into place yesterday. Paul, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, board members. As the chairman just stated, traffic to our website has increased substantially since we launched our new web page last year. And as we look to build on that success, one of the things we wanted to do was to make it easier for our customers to navigate the site. We wanted to enhance and improve the features that they currently use and add some new ones we feel would be helpful to the site. So this is the new MTA homepage. Customers can find everything they need on the homepage through fewer clicks and less searching. The visual design is cleaner, it's brighter, it's minimalistic. We organized it with defined content as well as boxes and placement for quick reference. The content is streamlined from 6 agencies, into one all-encompassing page that has the information that our customers are seeking in order for them to use the service in the area. For those customers who need to view our information in another language, we kept the Google Translate feature at the bottom of the page that will allow them to continue to do so. Moving to the upper left-hand corner of the page, we've repositioned and renamed our service status box Service Status. We've added a link on the top called Future Date. If a customer clicks that, it'll take them to a page of the agency of their choice that'll show them the planned work that's scheduled for the future. That way, if they want to travel in the future, they'll know what planned work is going on. At the bottom of the page, we've added an elevator and escalator link that'll take customers to the elevator and escalator status pages across the agencies. We've also, as the chairman stated, added a Get Widget button. That way webmasters and bloggers who want to add this to their site can do so. On the upper left, in the middle, we've added a new section called Getting There, which is a quick and easy way for customers to grab all the information they want depending on mode of travel. Here you're looking at what the Getting There box looks like with a click-through to Long Island Railroad. Moving to the upper right, we've repositioned and renamed our Trip Planner Plus. Plus, because we've added Metro North, Long Island Bus, and Long Island Railroad schedule and itinerary information into Trip Planner. So now we have a truly MTA-wide regional trip planner. If there's work happening on our rail network, Trip Planner Plus will take a customer and provide them a trip that takes them around that diversion. In addition, Trip Planner Plus provides several different trip options within one request. We also provide fares and, more importantly, accessible trips. Moving to the bottom of the page, there are 2 new features that we're adding called the App Center and the Innovation page. The App Center is a gallery of travel apps that are a result of us sharing our scheduled data with developers. We list them each by device. We also show apps that are officially licensed, meaning that those developers have licensed our official copyrighted maps, subway symbols, and other intellectual property. Speaking of the developer community, as you know, when the chairman arrived, we had a change in thinking about sharing our data with that developer community. And we now provide one of the most comprehensive sets of data of anyone across the country. So much so, and the data we provide is so extensive, that it's also used for political and economic analysis, not just travel apps. And speaking of travel apps, I think it's important for us to think about our mobile strategy going forward. As you all know, cell phones are ubiquitous, smartphones are becoming ubiquitous, and more customers are using smartphones, tablets, and other new devices to access information on company websites, including ours. Our mobile strategy is a little lacking, and I think going forward you'll see us trying to develop a mobile strategy that's more robust, that makes sure that the information our customers are seeking is available no matter what type of device they're using, no matter where they're using it. Going to the innovations page. The innovations page is a page where we will be featuring new technology projects. We'll be showing customers what we're doing, what our goals are, and how we're going to achieve those goals. Right now we are focusing on the countdown clocks, which, as you know, provide our customers in subway stations with audio and visual alerts about train arrival information. We currently have 148 stations across the system that have countdown clocks. 24 of those are on the L line, which is the only line right now that has full countdown clock activation. The other 124 are on the numbered lines. And very soon we'll be able to tell you that we have reached a critical milestone where 153 stations on the numbered lines have countdown clocks. Moving on to the bottom of the page, there's one more feature I want to bring your attention to, and that's our Ways to Save box. And the Ways to Save box is clearly that. It's just a quick way for customers to look and see what travel option is available for them, no matter the mode that they're using. We also provide links to transit benefits and pre-tax pages. And that's a quick look at the home page of the new MTA website. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. I would add one other thing, again, I think Paul's presentation focused very much on the customer perspective of this very appropriately. One other perspective from the perspective of this board is the word transparency, which is up on the right-hand corner of this page. We are now putting a phenomenal amount of information out on the web in a way that the public can access. We've picked up many of the recommendations from groups like the Citizens Budget Commission in putting dashboards and other things up there. And I think it's actually setting a standard in that area as well. And I'm very happy that we're able to do that as well. Thoughts, comments, questions before we move? Okay.
I looked at the website actually a few days ago, so I haven't seen this latest iteration. But the fact that you can get to the operating agency you want immediately without having to search for it, and so many other shortcuts on the home page, I think is really wonderful. I think it's great that you're putting the data out to developers. We look forward to the day when the information that's fed to the countdown clocks goes right to your smartphone. I think that's what we're all hoping for, and this is great. And I laud you for your efforts in this direction.
Andrew?
Everybody hears about all the cutbacks and everything we're doing to save money here, but here's something I think that is key for us, because I'm sure it is the most important way we communicate with our customers, and I really think the chairman's done a great thing here and the staff in working on this website. It's not something I personally have been involved in, but I know it's really important. This thing looks fantastic, and I'm sure there's going to be many more positive changes as we go along, right, Jay? I mean, this is the beginning of improving these things, and it doesn't happen overnight. I'm sure there'll be many add-ons, but it's a great thing and a great service to our riders, and I think it's really important.
Definitely more to come. Doreen?
Did we use an outside company to help us with this, or are there internal staff that we can acknowledge?
You took
Or
the words out.
are we looking at our internal staff?
No, you're not. In fact, you took the words out of my mouth before I was about to say it. This is an effort that has been done internally. Paul, teams inside of our organization, across our agencies, and in particular at New York City Transit, that actually did a lot of the legwork to be able to do this, and I was about to acknowledge them. I'm glad that you did. I think we often forget about how much effort it takes to be able to do this, how skilled the people are in our organization who are doing this for us right now. And actually, I think also that we're all learning some new tricks. This is these things evolve so quickly and so rapidly. A lot of times, we provide a service that largely stays the same, and we hope it stays the same day after day. There's nothing that stays the same in the technology area, and we've had to learn a lot of new tricks as we're going through this process. It's a real credit to everybody.
And can we acknowledge these are the same people that haven't gotten a pay increase in 3 years?
That would be accurate as well. Okay. Paul, and again, thank you to everyone across the business who worked so hard on this. I think it's a terrific job, and I'm really very proud of what the organization has done. Okay, we move from here to the report on the Committee of Finance. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, there is one action item today. The action item is for approval to issue the station maintenance, use, and operations billing to New York City and the counties for the period April 1st, 2010 through March 31st, 2011. The committee recommends this action, and I move it.
In favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Moving to procurements, there is one non-competitive procurement. Authorization is sought to award a contract to a company that facilitates e-procurements and of a resolution authorizing MTA to undertake a 4-month e-procurement pilot program. I move this procurement.
In favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
There are no competitive procurements. There are no ratifications. There are 5 real estate action items this month which are described in the board materials. I move the real estate action items.
In favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this concludes the finance report.
Thank you very much. The report from the Transit Committee. Doreen, please.
Yes, good morning. On behalf of the Transit Committee, I present the following, and I apologize for its length. There are 2 action items. The first action item is for approval of the permanent closure of the station entrance of the Briarwood Van Wyck Boulevard subway station on the EF line in Queens. And the second is approval of a settlement agreement with S311 Tunnel Constructors for Contract C26503, construction of running tunnels and station structures for the 7-line extension. The committee recommends them, and I move them.
Have a second? Second. In favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
There are 9 procurements this month totaling $16.2 million. One is non-competitive in the amount of $650,000. This is recommended, and I move it.
In favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
There are 4 competitive procurements in the amount of $11.5 million. These are also recommended, and I move them.
In favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
And finally, there are 4 ratifications in the amount of $4 million. The committee recommends them, and they're moved.
I have a second. In favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that conclude?
That does it.
Okay. As we turn to the Bus Operations Committee, I just wanted to make a comment, if I can, before I turn this over to Nancy. On our agenda today, I think, are 2 bus procurements that tell a very exciting story about what the MTA is doing for the state of New York and the impact that our capital program is really having on economic development in the state. We have on our agenda an order for 328 articulated buses. These are built by a company called Nova. We tested 90 of these buses back a couple of years ago. We all know a long history of difficulties with buses, and we've taken a very risk-averse approach to be able to do that. But they've been a great success. People on the SBS routes love these buses, and I think they're really terrific. But the really great news here is that Nova, on the basis of getting orders from the MTA, decided to open a plant in Plattsburgh, New York. And we are creating jobs in our state with the money that is coming to us clearly from taxpayers and riders in our state. The second contract is a contract for 250 buses from New Flyer. It's a contract worth about $115 million. And anyone who was at the bus committee on Monday heard a representative from New Flyer testify that as a result of the work they're now doing for the MTA, they are now pursuing opening a facility in New York State as well. I think the point here is that we make decisions very clearly on the basis of what we need to be able to do to improve and to have a first quality service for the 8.5 million people who rely on us every single day. No question about that. But the things we're doing in our capital program have impacts that extend well beyond what we are just seeing here in the downstate region. These are examples of companies that have effectively been seeded but incubated by the work the MTA is doing. They're creating facilities in New York, and not only are they doing work for us, but they're bringing in work from other places into our state. And I think that's an incredibly important part of what we're doing, and as we continue to put out investments from the capital program. I actually think it's a story that we need to tell more and more. With that introduction, Nancy, can I turn to the bus committee?
Yes. There is one non-competitive procurement in the amount of $231.2 million. The committee recommended this, and I move it.
In favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Two competitive procurements in the amount of $139.1 million. The committee recommended these two, and I move them.
Second.
In favor? Opposed?
And lastly, one ratification in the amount of $608,000, and the committee recommended this ratification. I move it.
In favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Again, let me make a quick comment before I turn to the Rail Committee. I'd like to give everybody on the board a brief update on the situation with Amtrak and the East River tunnels. As everyone on the board knows, a derailment in one of the East River tunnels early this month led to nearly a week's worth of service disruption for the Long Island Railroad. It was just one of several incidents that we've had, including one that disrupted our ability to get out of Passover service when we were trying to get people home for Seder's. Helena Williams and I have been very concerned about the safety and reliability of the tunnels, especially the issue of standing water in the tunnels. And we've reached out to Amtrak President Joe Boardman. I've spoken to Joe a couple of times. We wrote a letter to him. I'm pleased to say that Amtrak has responded quickly. They responded quickly with a plan of action. Helena met with the Amtrak staff on Friday to go over it and reports good progress being made. I think we should feel that Amtrak is now taking our concerns very seriously. I think that they've identified the right set of steps to be able to deal with this. Like many other things that we face, you don't get a quick and easy answer. So these are difficult tunnels to work in. Doing work has real impact upon service delivery, and so you're always trading those things off in the way that you're doing it. But I think the focus and attention that we need on this problem is finally here. And that will be both on the Amtrak side, and Helena and her team stand hand in hand with them to be able to ensure that the work is taking place. These are their tunnels. They have the ownership of the tunnel. They have the responsibility on the tunnel. We need to work with them to be able to get this done. We'll be working closely with Amtrak to ensure that happens. And I think this was already discussed at the Rail Committee, but I know that Helena and her team will be keeping the board informed every month through the Rail Committee as a means of keeping on top of this. Mitch?
Yes.
I think the rail is yours today.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you again for the emphasis placed on solving, or at least hopefully solving, the East River Tunnel issue. We can only hope that the implementation of the plan is as good as the plan itself.
Agreed.
We'll just have to watch that as we go along. And from the Long Island side, we're very appreciative of that, since it's our riders who get hit by that every time. On the Rail Committee, there are no non-competitive procurements. There are 5 competitive procurements, 1 for Metro North and 4 for MTA Capital Construction, in a total amount of $7.27 million. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
In favor? Opposed?
There is 1 ratification for Metro North in the total amount of $45,439. The committee recommends this ratification, and I move it.
In favor? Opposed?
And this concludes the Metro North Long Island Committee report.
Okay, if I can then turn to Mr. LeBeau, the Bridges and Tunnels Committee, please.
Mr. Chairman, there are no non-competitive procurements. There are 4 competitive procurements in the total amount of $3.16 million. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them. Second.
In favor? Opposed?
And there are no ratifications. That concludes the Bridges and Tunnels Committee report.
Okay. We have one other piece of business in there, which is there's an action item to approve amendments to committee charters. This month saw the inaugural meeting of our new security committee. It's a committee that is very much intended to keep the focus on just that issue, and the charter reflects that and reinforces the role of our operating committees in regard to operational safety, which is, I think, the place where that needs to rest. I would move this item. Do I have a second? In favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Can I now ask for a motion, please, to go into executive session to discuss matters related to collective bargaining? In favor? Thank you. Good morning. How are you?
Mr. Walter, when you first got here, you posted a video on the website talking about your visit to each and every one of the stations in the system. Have you seen how things are, the mold growing on the beach, the end line in Brooklyn, conditions at 181st and Washington Heights? It seems they get worse and worse the farther you get out on the system. What's being done to address that? Why can't more be done to address the condition of
Yeah, I don't think I said I visit every station, but I have been around extensively looking at stations. I have looked at the various situations around. I don't think we can be satisfied with the condition of our stations, and I think you've seen clear action about how we're seeking to address it. As we stand here today, we have 50 stations that are under reconstruction or in our component program. One of the points that we recognized was that we needed to have a way of getting into stations and being able to address critical issues that are there now. Stations that have canopies that have holes in them, stations that have staircases that are crumbling. And we created something which we call the Station Component Program to be able to do that. Today, we're working on 50 stations as we stand here right now, 53 stations. But we have work at 173 stations in design right now, with almost all of that work to be awarded over the next 10 to 12 months. And it is our way of trying to address that and trying to be able to go at that.
Are those projects going to be in jeopardy because of the lack of funding with capital projects? And we're running out of money.
Right. The projects, our capital program is funded for 2010 and 2011. The types of projects that we're talking about right here are basic projects that are in our capital program, that are funded from our capital program. The component overhaul program, component repair program is part of our capital program, and we clearly do need to have a capital program that takes us beyond 2011.
If I use your new website to look at job opportunities, it lists things like document management analyst and assistant chief procurement officer. I think a question is, can we hire a painter? Is that being done?
We are looking. Painting is a different question than rehabbing or fixing stations in terms of the capital work that is there. We're looking at that as well, and I'll come back to you on the question of painting. But what I was going to first, and I think what your question really went to, is that there are structural conditions in many of our stations that we should not be satisfied with. I used to have a picture on my phone of going up to a station on the number 1 line up in northern Manhattan and seeing literally holes through the canopy. That's not acceptable. What I'm happy to say to you is that station is under construction right now to be able to deal with that problem. So I think we are addressing them, and I think there's an unprecedented amount of station work that is planned to go forward. We have never had 175 stations with work taking place. Like a lot of other things with the system, when things have been left in neglect, it will take some time to bring them back to good repair. But we are now working to do that, and it's very much in our sights.
Over the last several years, bus ridership has fallen off. Even the subway ridership has come back since the recession. I was wondering if you view that as a problem, and what you think is driving that.
Well, I think we're still looking at some of the impacts about how the changes in utilization have taken place. I'm happy to see that subway ridership has stabilized or gone up to some extent. One of the things that I would point out is that some of the changes we made in service were explicitly designed to be able to move people from bus services to subway services, where we could provide the service with the subway and where it could be done efficiently. So some of that may be in that. Some of that may also have to do with the ways in which the economic recovery is taking hold and the ridership in different parts of the city, and we're still looking at that. It's a changing circumstance.
Can you give us a little more detail on the work on the? Thanks. Can you give us a little more detail on the work on the East River Tunnel with Amtrak? What is it exactly that was the problem, and what some of the solutions that you talked to the president about, the president of Amtrak?
Sure. Amtrak has had several incidents over the last few months that have severely impacted the Long Island Railroad service and affected the reliability of our operations. Most recent was an Amtrak derailment a couple of weeks ago. It was an equipment train excuse me, that took place on a Sunday. That equipment train and that derailment took nearly a week to be able to get out of the tunnel, to be able to fix the tracks that were there. Prior to that, we had a problem just a few weeks before that on Passover, and a problem that occurred that impacted the ability to get people through the tunnels and out to their Passover Seders. We are concerned that the assets in the East River tunnels need to be maintained to the highest level of repair, and we've been in discussions with the Amtrak president. I talked to him personally. We've written to him to be able to have a clear, comprehensive program to be able to ensure that. We have concerns about water conditions that are appearing in the tunnels, which we believe may undermine the structural integrity of some of the work underneath, and we're working with them to be able to try to address those types of problems that are there. I think Amtrak has put forth a very good program, a program of inspection, a program of repair, and I think we're getting on the same page. Helena Williams, the president of Long Island Railroad, met with Amtrak on Friday. They went through it in great detail to be able to do that. Amtrak was out working to be able to do it, and I think we're moving, if the steps of being able to deal with this are a recognition that there's an issue here, establishing a plan of action, and then executing. I think we're moving past 1 and 2 and moving to 3, which is executing on that and being able to do it. Having said that, the East River tunnels are tremendously difficult to work in. They have very little clearance. It's difficult to move equipment into them. You don't have this. It's not like working out on the open right of way in the way that you might do that. And taking any of those tunnels out of service has service impacts on our railway. So it has to very much be a coordinated program between Amtrak and the Long Island Railroad, and really a joint process to be able to do it. But Amtrak's ultimately responsible for getting that work done.
What are they doing differently going forward? What are they going to do differently? More repairs? Is MTA going to help them? Are we bringing manpower and people power and equipment to them? Or
it is
being done differently?
It's their workforce that is undertaking the work. It is a combination of inspections and repairs. So I think it is a stepped-up inspection program that is taking place through the East River Tunnel. Some of that is done manually, visually, walking through. Some of that is done with probes. Some of that is done with track geometry cars, and a program of repairs trying to get at some of the underlying conditions. For example, why are we seeing water building up in certain places that are there? And it's a combination of all those pieces that are being done right now.
Is there a chance to get a refund for the Long Island Railroad passengers who missed, basically the people who have those month-long passes? Can they get a refund for that week where they didn't get what they paid for, and if not, why?
Well, I think we ran service every day, and while we did have service difficulty, we ran the majority of our service every day. There won't be any refunds for that time period. Michael?
Mr. Chairman, you ride the subway nearly every day. I was wondering what your experience has been with panhandlers and whether that remains a problem in the system.
I think panhandlers are certainly something that you do see in the system. I think your Your question refers, I'm sure, to the comments that were reported, but that's been in the news. I think the point that the mayor was making, and one that I fully agree with, is that when you compare the situations that you see in the subway today to the situations that some of us will remember from a number of years ago, I think the conditions in the subway today are very, very different. I think the NYPD has done an excellent job of being able to control and try to deal with this. I would not say it's been eliminated. I think that's certainly not the case. But I don't think equally that you can compare what we see today to what you might have seen 30 years ago in the subway.
How high is your level of concern about the East River Tunnel? Are you concerned that that could have been a passenger train that derailed?
The derailment that took place was a big concern. Any derailment is a big concern. That was an equipment train. And I think a passenger train would have passed several minutes after that, not very long after that. It's not clear that the passenger train would have had the same impact. A locomotive concentrates weight in a way that an electric passenger train doesn't concentrate weight in the same way. So it's not clear it would have had the same impact. But you have to be concerned about that. Safety is our number one priority. We take it very, very seriously. And I think that's one of the reasons why you saw us respond so quickly, so strenuously to Amtrak in asking for their help and cooperation to be able to deal with this and ensure the safety and reliability of the tunnels.
What is MTA's role in East River Tunnel?
We operate through the East River Tunnel. We coordinate with Amtrak through the service provision that takes place at Penn Station. But the East River Tunnels are an Amtrak-owned asset, and they're an asset that Amtrak maintains and makes the capital investments for as well.
Any of your discussions with Amtrak include MTA playing a bigger role in the maintenance of it?
Actually, our discussions focused on achieving an outcome, and the discussion really focused on what do we need to do to achieve an outcome of having a service that meets the standard of safety and reliability that we want to have there. I was much more concerned about seeing steps being taken to be able to do that than I was about the institutional arrangements that were underpinning that. If for any reason we're not getting there, if this is not working, if Amtrak is unable to do it, then we'll open up that discussion. But I don't see any reason why that should be the case. Amtrak has well-qualified people. They're a well-organized railway. This is now the focus of their attention, and I'm very hopeful that they will be able to do it.
Had the railroad expressed concerns about the safety, expressed safety concerns about those tunnels, specifically that tunnel, prior to that derailment?
I don't think there was a safety concern. There was a concern about there's been a continuing series of smaller issues that had taken place. The Passover situation, which I referred to earlier, which came out of inspection process. There were some broken rails that took place, I think, in March. Is that right? In March. So that had been a discussion with Amtrak, but I think it's very clear that I would say it's fair to say that the level of discussion and the nature of the discussion stepped up following the derailment that took place 2 weeks ago.
But that sounds like the answer is yes, that the railroad had expressed some concerns.
The railroad is in a constant dialogue with Amtrak over the joint asset of Penn Station. As you well know, it's the most heavily used railway terminal or railway station that we have in the country, and so there's a constant dialogue around many things that are taking place in the terminal and or the station and in the tunnels. Yes.
Hi, the new signage with the arrival time and departure time. Thank you so much. The new signage with the arrival and departure time. People love them, but we wonder why you put them up on ceilings that with crumbling paint and are cracking and are going to have to be repaired.
Okay. Well, first off, let me say that I'm happy to hear that you like them and that people like them. I think they have been probably the most popular thing that we've done. And I think they really respond to something that makes people's journey much easier and makes them more confident about their journey. I think that's terrific. As I said a moment ago, I don't think we can be satisfied about the condition of our stations. That's why the MTA has created a component program to be able to go into our stations in limited areas and be able to fix things that are broken. If we have a canopy that has a hole in it, if we have a staircase that is crumbling, if we have issues that are there through the station component program, we're now able to go in and fix things that are broken. We have today work going on in over 50 stations in our system. We are currently in design for work at 173 locations around our system, and I think the level of station activity that is taking place and will be taking place over the coming months, frankly, is unprecedented in our system.
But there still seems to be a disconnect. Would you hang a lighting fixture on a ceiling that had to be repaired? Wouldn't you repair the ceiling first?
I don't think there's any disconnect. I think what we worked to do was to be able to get out a very important customer benefit, one that people have responded to very positively. As you said, they like it. I think the approval rating on the signs is about 95%. The other point I'd make about this is that this follows directly out of our signal system. We upgraded the signal system on the number 1 to 6 lines, and in essence, hanging the sign and putting that information out there for the customer was just the last step of that process.
You know, your escalators at 53rd and Lex and at 63rd and Lex, we had issues with them the last year, have been steadily being repaired more quickly. But the problem is still at 53rd and Lex is that privately owned elevator is still just sitting there. And it's the other day I saw somebody almost get pushed in front of a train accidentally when someone bumped past them. You had said several months ago that you would go to the transit committee, they would come back with a plan. What's the status of the plan to improve the escalators? And also the elevator was out at 63rd and Lex yesterday.
Right. We are working on doing that, and I can update you on the work that we've been doing so far. I think when you look at having an effective escalator and elevator program, is in essence having the reliability that we want to achieve, I think there are 3 components of that need to be there. First, we have to be able to fix problems as they're occurring. Second, we have to be able to take a regular maintenance, a regular level of maintenance that takes place. And third, we have to be able to overhaul or rehabilitate our escalators and elevators on a regular cycle as needed to be able to do that. I think one of the things that we saw as we've begun to dig into this work is that we're cannibalizing from one to the other. That is, the resources that we're using to be able to deal with the immediate problems that are occurring are coming out of some of what we should be doing in our maintenance program to be able to do this. So we need to ensure that we have the ability to be able to undertake all 3 of those activities simultaneously and not draw from one to the other. We will be coming back to the Transit Committee, as I said, with a more comprehensive program on that. I would make 2 other points. In terms of the private escalators, as you say, each one of those circumstances is unique. And we need to deal with each one. I'm very pleased, for example, not just that the escalator at 53rd Street is up, but the escalator at Times Square has been repaired, and I know that the owner there has worked very hard to get that repaired, a very heavily utilized escalator as well. We have other situations that have not been as happily dealt with so far, and we're continuing to work with them. Second, I hope you noticed our new website, because on the new website, we have laid out a service status box for all of the lines on our system. It's something that we're deeply committed to in terms of giving people information of what's happening around our system. And for the very first time, right in that service status box is a click to escalator and elevator status. And again, it's one of the ways in which we want to have transparency about what's happening with our escalators and elevators and help people who rely on them to know what the status of the service is.
Could you briefly comment about your own MTA report, that 20% of the Metro card, there's a 20% error rate for the Metro cards, and what you plan to do about that? And I know you have the smart card thing, but is that accurate? Is it 20% error rate when you swipe the Metro card?
Well, I think it's error rate would imply that something is happening that's not valid. I think what's happening is it's a misswipe. In many cases, it's a valid card that's swiping through. Someone may swipe through too quickly or too slowly. And I think any of us who use the subway regularly know that misswipes do occur. I know that my children make fun of me each time when I misswipe, so I know that they occur, and I know they occur for most every one of us. The reality is that the Metro card, when it was put into place in the early 90s, was a terrific innovation at that point in time. I think it served the city really well. It's allowed us to bring in some of the innovative fare policies that we have today that we take for granted almost at this point. Monthly passes and weekly passes, subway to bus transfers. I think those were things that didn't exist before we had the Metro card. But the reality is that it's a dated technology, and we need to move to being able to do something that allows us to be able to handle this better. And the new system, the new fare payment system that you're referring to will allow us to be able to do three things that I think they're all important. First, I think it will be easier for customers. It won't be misswipes. You'll be able to use the internet and other ways of being able to do things to load value onto your cards and things that we take for granted in other ways that we do things. Second, it will be faster to be able to board a bus in particular. So the time it takes to be able to board buses will be sped up, and then buses will be sped up, and people's journeys will be sped up. And that's a win for our customers as well. And then third, I think it will cost us less money. Today, we spend approximately 15 cents of every dollar that we collect in revenue on the process of selling tickets and collecting tickets, and I think that the new process that we will have will save us money in doing that. What you have seen is the comprehensive approach to the way that we are doing it. The documents that we have published, the way in which we work with our organization, the way in which we're meeting with the payments industry and other potential providers to be able to work this out, and very much a commitment on the part of the MTA, consistent with things that we've been doing over the last year, to be able to work at things in a standard process, not a proprietary process. MetroCard is our system. We're the only one who uses that system, and therefore it doesn't get invested in the way that it might be if it's being used by many people all around the world. We want to use a standard payments architecture, whether that's credit card payments or mobile payments, to be able to do it. We want to be able to effectively ride the rails, if I can use that pun, of the changes that are taking place in the payments industry, work off the innovation that will be taking place there, and effectively be able to see the MTA as a merchant, just like we see the sandwich shop or the store down the street as a merchant as well.
Will you consider charging for distance in the future with the new system?
No.